welcome to iPen Podcast. My name is Joanne Cox.
Hi, I'm Nanette Buchanan, and this is Let's Talk About It. I got a good one.
I know about it. This is good.
What is it? Good one.
What is it?
You were asked to give your opinion or your advice.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that sometimes people ask for it, but they don't really want. They don't really want
right
the truth,
mm-hmm.
or they don't even want. They don't want your take if their take is not included.
Exactly.
I think that's the way I want to put it. That they want you to give advice,
mm-hmm.
but they really want you to size up
on their
side.
Yes.
You know, they want you to agree with them.
And I'm going to give it a spin. Sometimes they don't want you to agree. But then when they hear it, they're ready to be angry about it because it's not in agreement with them, but they didn't know you were going to be that harsh. And so what we have to keep in mind, it doesn't matter how long you've known each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you've been friends since kindergarten.
Or your relationship.
Yes.
Because it could be a relative.
Yes. And keep in mind that if it's someone you work with, is that going to affect your job?
Mm-hmm. So that comes up with the question, do you know when to give the advice? Do you know when it's appropriate? Because sometimes we give advice and it's not even asked for.
Well, that's a whole different topic.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes when we're asked
mm-hmm.
to give our opinion, and you could be on the job, like
mm-hmm.
you said, let's just look at that. You could be on the job and know how to create or how to do something that everybody's been doing their own way or whatever, and
mm-hmm.
you can have a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
You can have an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You can have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not your place to give that advice.
Mm-hmm. Because you're not even in that department.
Or your boss wants it done another way.
Mm-hmm. Or you've just been there 6 months or a year.
You don't have enough time in. You don't have a degree.
Mm-mm. You don't know this, but you were asked.
But you were asked. Because they saw your work ethic
mm-hmm.
and they saw how you carry things.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, if we flip it back to the friends and relatives and things that aren't as crucial as I need to keep my mouth shut so I can keep my job.
Mm-hmm.
What about keeping your mouth shut to keep that relationship?
And what about if we just very softly say, this is about good friends? Well, I really don't know enough about that. And I think that maybe you should see someone else or ask someone else.
We
don't
always want to be in the middle.
Yes. And so it's an easy way to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
mm-hmm.
I think, this is just my opinion, but I think it's okay to just step back and say, I'd just rather not give my opinion
I'd rather not give my opinion
on that.
Not only that, if it's in between two others
mm-hmm.
and they want you to choose who's right or who's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If it's about child rearing.
Ooh, that's big.
And they want you to say, well, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
And God forbid if you're a person that doesn't have any children.
Yes.
Because even though you may have an opinion, the first thing that they're going to say is, you don't have any kids. This will be after they've already asked you,
mm-hmm.
what do you think?
No, this is the big one. Relationships between male and female.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to you wanting to know how to take care of a relationship that's romantic or husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
That is an absolutely step back. Because I'm going to tell you what usually happens. You give your advice, they take it, and then the people...
If it turns out the other way...
If they break up...
You were a part of that. You broke us up. That's
and
right.
then know what else can take place? You don't break them up. They decide to just get back together. And then you're going, what? I don't even know why you asked me. You back with that woman, or you back with that guy.
And that happens a lot of times when we think about on a more serious level. Although this is serious enough, but on a more serious level, in cases of abuse, in cases of separation, in cases of going through a bad divorce, or going through some things that are really, really, really detrimental to the extension of one's life. And how their course of living would be. You're given an opinion, but in that opinion there are other ramifications. There are legal issues. There are other matters that have to be addressed, and you may not know about all of those other matters. You may not know all the background
things. I'm glad you brought that up.
You might not know about all the other things. Yeah, your girlfriend got a black eye, but she done broke his arm. You don't know.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because my mind wasn't going in that direction. But just to give you a good example, and I believe Nanette can write on this one. To give a good example on this person, you see that there's been some physical abuse there. And so you're telling this person what they need to do. But what you didn't understand is that she goes back home, and I'm going to say it's so female. She goes back home, and now, because she's packing her things up, he makes it worse and sends her to the hospital. Or even worse, is that he could kill her. And so now you've told that person, get out of there and get out of there now. And that sounds like good advice from physical abuse, but you never even thought about that happening.
Yeah, you never even know.
You never thought about that happening.
And the thing about it too is that there's so many other options that have to take place prior to the move, prior to one being able to leave. When they're in a physical situation. Sometimes it's finances. Sometimes it's being able to have somewhere to go. Sometimes it's the fact that they have children that they have to take with them. So you don't know all of the things. So just to say, oh, you just need to leave him, that crosses their mind, but they can't. So you have to find another way to help them. And my advice would be for you to give them someone that is more professional
in that area,
to help in that area. Sometimes the professional help. The same thing with people that are on a drug addiction or alcohol. Some of the things that we're confronted with, where we're asked about opinions, fall into a professional realm.
Yes.
And if we need that professional realm, that could be your opinion. That could very well be what your opinion is. In my opinion, you need to see a doctor. In my opinion, you need to see a counselor. You need to see a coach. In my opinion, you need to get another opinion.
Yes.
That's even with someone who is having a health crisis. And they're telling you this is what they feel, this is what the condition is. They don't like what the first doctor said. Don't tell them about how your grandmother had the same thing and something went wrong and everything else. They need to do this and they need to follow that doctor. If they're not comfortable, then they need another opinion and get a second opinion.
And I'm glad you brought up, professionals, because I am a licensed coach, and my thing is not to actually give them advice in that area.
And don't be an expert if you're not.
That's right. And so the whole point of coaching is to lay your situation on the table
and
for me to ask them questions so they can hear out loud exactly,
and a lot of times they don't even know how it looks.
They're
so caught in it that they don't even know, especially like the women and the people that were incarcerated that had been in abusive relationships. They didn't even see it until they did what they did to go to jail.
Yes.
Some of them did crime to get out of the situation.
Yes.
And they didn't realize what the attachment was to get that emotional string unattached.
Oh, this is deep.
They didn't realize it until they did what they did. So you're absolutely right. Laying it on the table sometimes is the best advice you can give as a friend.
So that they
you can say to them,
hear it.
hey, on Monday this was going on, Tuesday this was going on. Now what's going to go on next week if you don't straighten this out right here? That may very well be an approach that you can take rather than trying to tell them what to do.
Yes.
Show them what it is.
Yes.
Help
and
them,
now
help
they
them
can see different perspectives.
Help them see it.
That's
Wake
right.
them up to it. You don't always have to give that hard, fast opinion or
Of what
hard,
to
fast
do.
directive. You can just be that open ear, listen, and then lay it out for them and say, now, do you see what I see? Do you feel it the way that I feel it? Because you want to keep the relationship.
Right.
You want that to remain the same. You don't want to lose a friend because you were trying to help a friend.
And then to just ask them, where do you see yourself next week, next month, next year? What do you think the kids are doing and how are they receiving this?
And like I said, you don't have to be one. Experience is the voice. And that's part of my quote for today. Experience is the voice when you want to give advice or whatever. But the thing about it is, if you've never done it yourself, if you've never had to touch it yourself, you could know that your uncle drinks, but you might not have been there when Uncle Johnny went off.
Yes.
You could know that he's an alcoholic, but you might not have been there when he tears the house up and he does everything that he does.
Yes, you just don't know.
So you don't know. So your advice from experience could be, drunks get drunk and they tear up and they do that, but that's not the depth that those people are going through who live in that household. So you may very well have to say, in my experience, I need to guide you somewhere else.
In my experience. That's
in
the key.
my experience.
In my experience.
I need to give you, this is the best advice I can give you. And they may look at you and say, you know better than that. You went through it. You went through a divorce. How come you can't tell me what you, in my experience, you need to talk to a lawyer. And you need to give them someone that has that step up, that can really give them, and then that way it frees you. It doesn't touch your relationship.
Yes, because what we're saying is that relationships matter. Exactly. And regardless to what you're going through, that person can still be there for you.
Exactly.
And we need that in life.
You need that support.
Yes.
Because you know,
knowing that they're there.
You know the next step that they're going through. They're going to need you there.
Unconditional love is so great.
So you want to refer them where you may have had to go, where you may have had to sit down and talk, where you may have said, well, you know what, this soothed me, but you still need to go see a professional. This helped me, but you still need to call, or you still need to make adjustments, or you still need to make changes. Or even on the job, I train numerous people, and I used to tell them all the time, your time is gonna come, but you gotta be patient and wait. You can't do what I do,
right?
You can't do what the next person does, but your time is gonna come.
And we have to be careful that when we say all of that, sometimes a person only hears certain things that you said.
Exactly.
So you have to be careful, because they didn't hear the part when you said, in my experience.
In my experience.
So they said, oh, Joanne said.
Exactly.
No, let's back that up, because I did not say that verbatimly. So if you don't say that at all and refer them to where they need to go, you are playing it safe, and now you still have a great relationship with your boss, with your mother, your father.
And like I said, they may very well know that you've been through it. They may very well know that you've had these problems. They may have very well came to you because they know that you've had these problems. But you have to let them know that each experience is different. What I went through may not be what you're going through. Because they don't know the background of it. Exactly.
The background, it matters.
It matters. It makes a difference. So experience is the voice that's needed when giving advice. But we have to be careful of the advice we give.
I like that. We have to be careful of the advice we give.
Yes.
Well, that ends another episode.
And we want you to tune in every week and join us with your comments. What advice did you get that you didn't think was too good? What advice did you get that was great advice that you took? We'd like to hear about it. Leave us a comment, subscribe, become one of our audience.
And this is called Let's Talk About It. I'll see you next week.
Take care.